people, it's me, Anja. My pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 3 of my favorite retellings. I don't read retellings all that often, honestly, because my enjoyment of the retelling depends on my enjoyment and or my knowledge of the original story. Like, if I already know how the original story is going to go, and then the retelling goes exactly how the original story went, then my enjoyment of that is lower than I expected. You know what I mean? So anyway, all that to say, that's why I haven't filmed a video talking about my favorite retellings in probably over a year. So anyway, here I am. I've read a couple of retellings recently that have been really, really good. So without any further ado, the first book on this list is called The Seafarer's Kiss. This story is a YA fantasy retelling of The Little Mermaid, but it has a sapphic twist to it, so we love to see it. This book is absolutely so fantastic, and it was so well done. Like, I just really, really enjoyed it, because first of all, the world building was so good, and it was so immersive. The sapphic romance was so well developed, and it was so lovely. Literally, the plot was so intriguing and so engaging. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. This book is absolutely so fantastic, and it was so well done. I think I had lower expectations for this book, because if I'm not mistaken, I read another book by this author that I rated 3 stars, so I was pleasantly surprised when I rated this book 4 stars. So anyway, all that to say, this book is really, really good, and it's super underrated, so I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Anne of Greenville. This story is a YA contemporary retelling of Anne of Green Gables, and it follows Anne, who's half Japanese and also queer and sapphic. This book is absolutely so fantastic, and it was so well done. Again, the story is so underrated, and for what? It's absolutely so good. First of all, I love Anne as a main character. She is so wonderful, and she is so lovely, and she also stays so true to the original story of Anne of Green Gables. You know what I mean? Because she's so, like, whimsical and so awesome, but also this story is still YA, and the story never felt too juvenile for me, if that makes any sense. The plot was so intriguing and so engaging. The sapphic romance was so lovely and so wonderful. Literally, this book is so good. It's so wonderful, and it's so well done. The world building was so fantastic, and it felt so wonderful. The family dynamics were so wonderful and so lovely. This book is so good, and it's so underrated, and I literally loved it so much, because like I mentioned, it was so whimsical and so wonderful, but it was never like juvenile or cheesy or anything like that, so it just felt so good. Anyway, all that to say, I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Self-Made Boys. This story is a YA historical fiction retelling of The Great Gatsby, where Nick and Daisy are both people of color, Daisy and Jordan are both sapphic, and then Nick and Jay are both Achillean and transgender. This story is absolutely so fantastic, and it was so well done. First of all, the queerness of the story felt so authentic and so natural and so well researched. The romances were so cute and so lovely. The characters were so well developed and so distinct, and they felt so true to the original story, as well as so nuanced in this retelling, if that makes any sense. The plot was so intriguing and so engaging. Literally, the story was so well done, and it was so good, and it was so great and so wonderful. Literally, this book is so good. The writing is so lyrical, and it's so beautiful. This book is absolutely so fantastic, and it's so good because it's so well developed in literally every single element. I would highly, highly recommend this book, not just for fans of The Great Gatsby, but just for everybody who wants a great, solid, queer historical fiction book. So anyway, all that to say, I would highly, highly recommend this book. The next book on this list is called A Clash of Steel. For those who don't know, this book is a YA Asian historical fiction sapphic retelling of Treasure Island, and it was absolutely so fantastic and so well done. Like I said at the beginning of this video, if I don't have much knowledge of the original story, that means that I don't quite know where the plot is headed, and that's what happened with this book, because I've never read the original story of Treasure Island, and now I don't want to, because when I think of Treasure Island, I think of this book instead, and this book was absolutely so good. First of all, the Asian culture was so vibrant, and it really helped the world building be so awesome and so intriguing. The plot was so engaging and so intriguing. The sapphic romance was so good and it was so wonderful. I personally prefer slow burn romances over insta love, and this story did it so well. Again, this book is so underrated and it deserves so much more hype because it's absolutely so fantastic and so well developed in every single element. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. Like I mentioned, the sapphic romance was so lovely and so wonderful. The plot was so intriguing and so engaging. The world building was so incredible. So anyway, all that to say, this book is absolutely so good, and I would highly, highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called The Mirror Season. This story is a YA contemporary magical realism retelling of the Snow Queen. And before I begin, there's a huge trigger warning on this book for sexual assault, so please be wary of that before you read this book. But aside from that, this book is absolutely so fantastic, and it's so lyrical, and it's so beautiful. The writing is absolutely so pretty, the world building is so immersive, and it felt absolutely so magical and so well developed. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The queer representation was so wonderful and so lovely. The main character is pansexual, in case you were wondering, and like her romance was so lovely, and it was so wonderful. Like, the plot was so intriguing and so engaging. This book is absolutely so good, and it deserves all the hype and so much more. This book is so fantastic, and it's so wonderful, and I just really enjoyed it, because this author is unbelievably so talented, and I will gladly read more from them in the future. So anyway, all that to say, this book is absolutely so good, and with that, I would highly, highly recommend it. But like I mentioned, there's a huge trigger warning on this book for sexual assault, so please be wary of that before you read it. So, in conclusion, since this is part 3 of my favorite books that are retellings, I will leave parts 1 and 2 in the description box below in case you want some more recommendations. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't do these videos as often as I do like other videos because I don't read retellings all too often. But anyway, all that to say, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the taxi emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video.